What's good, y'all? We're back making another tier list. Last time we made one, you guys seemed to really enjoy it. I really enjoyed making it, so I figured let's do a different topic this time. Still make a tier list. This video, we're going to be ranking the teams with the best future. Now, when I say future, I'm really only looking at the young players they have on their roster right now. So unfortunately for you OKC fans and you Utah Jazz fans who have a boatload of picks stockpiled up, that does not go into the grade of this. It's only players on your roster that are under 24 years old from the start of this next coming NBA season. And real quick, right before we get into the actual tier making, I did want to let you guys know, in case you missed it, on my Twitter, I announced a new, I guess you can call kind of series that we're going to be starting on this channel. Twice a week, I'm going to be deep diving into these NBA teams right here. I created this list just from the teams that I wanted to talk about most, or the ones that I found most interesting, I guess. I'm going to be deep diving and doing a preseason preview about all of these teams. So if you see your favorite team here, make sure you leave in the comments and I'll move it up to the top of the list. This Saturday, we're starting out with the Knicks, and then we're going to be just working our way through all the way until the start of the NBA season. Hit the like button on this video, subscribe so you don't miss out on that next coming series, and let's get right into it. And here we are back with the tier list. This time we have new categories, obviously, since we're doing a new topic. Starting off here from the top, we got built for the future, great foundation, solid group, one guy that's carrying, a few good pieces, and then they just sold their future. They have no future coming up. And I already explained it in the intro. You have to be under 24 years old to be qualified as a young player. Let's get right into it. Atlanta Hawks here. We're going to be putting them into the solid group. They got a few different guys that I really do like there. Starting off, Onyeka Okongwu as their center right there. I know there's rumors that they're maybe trading Clint Capella to get him to be the starting center there. So I really like Onyeka Okongwu and his promise. He's only 22 years old. They also traded for Saddiq Bey last year, who barely makes the list at 24 years old. And then when their really young talent comes in is Kobe Buffkin, their rookie that they just drafted this year. He's only 20 years old. Their rookie last year, AJ Griffin at 20 years old. Jalen Johnson only at 21 years old. That's like 4 or 5 rotational pieces for the Atlanta Hawks that are under the age of 24. They have a really good future coming up. Also, Trae Young, I think, barely misses this list at 25 years old, so he obviously is still on the younger side for a star player. The Hawks are set up for, they have a pretty good future. Next up for the Boston Celtics, they unfortunately are going into the sold their future tier. You might be able to see a little bit of a theme when it comes to these contending teams, and they really just don't have a lot of young pieces. They only have 2 players under the age of 24 on their roster, one of them being Danilo Banton, who they just signed from the Toronto Raptors this past offseason. He's 23 years old. I don't really see him having too much of a presence on this Boston Celtics team. And they also do have rookie Jordan Walsh, who is only 19 years old. Him, I do think he can maybe make an impact. Probably not this season, but I do think maybe if he can get his three-point shot down a little bit, he can make more of like a Grant Williams impact for them down the line. Moving on to the Brooklyn Nets here. They're going into the a few good pieces pile, because they have a decent amount of under 24 years old. I'm going to read them out right now. They have rookies Dariq Whitehead and Noah Clowney. And then they also have Day'Ron Sharpe, Cam Thomas, Trenton Wofford, Darius Bazley, and Nick Claxton. Now you might be thinking to yourself, that's a lot of decent names. Like, why are they only at a few good pieces? In my opinion, Nick Claxton is really the only guy that's like moving me heavily on this. I don't know too much about the rookies. I've said before, I don't really watch college basketball like that, so I'm not going to speak too much on them. But I do think a lot of people are higher on Cam Thomas than I am. Day'Ron Sharpe hasn't really been able to carve himself out a consistent role with the Nets these last few seasons. And then when you look at Darius Bazley and Trenton Wofford, both guys coming into the Nets this offseason on pretty small deals, kind of just like a prove it, maybe you could do something for us. They haven't been able to stick on their teams in the past, so I'm not really expecting too much from them. To be fair though, it could be way worse for the Nets. Moving on to the Chicago Bulls here, they're going into the few good pieces right next to the Brooklyn Nets. They have less amount of players, but still kind of a lot of them on the same level. They have rookie second-round pick Julian Phillips on their roster, along with Dalen Terry, Patrick Williams, Kobe White, and Ayo Dosunmu. And to be honest, I was really close to putting the Bulls up here with the solid group, but they are going to just be down here with a few good pieces. Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White both have been able to carve themselves out as decent guards. I don't know if either of them are starting caliber guards in this NBA, but at least backup role players. And then with Patrick Williams, I definitely do think his growth was stunted a little bit with the emergence of DeMar DeRozan on their roster. You know, they kind of were thrusted into this, oh, maybe we can contend and make the playoffs and do all this, when Patrick Williams was drafted to kind of just become his own player with his own pace. That being said, though, he is a terrific defender, can shoot the ball too, so he's good as a role player. Maybe he can break out into that, you know, full-time secondary option maybe that they drafted him for. Who knows? Right now, they're staying in the good few pieces, though. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They do not have a lot of young players on the roster, but they're still going into the built for the future, because you want to hear the players on their roster? Evan Mobley at 22 years old, Isaac Okoro at 22, which he's been kind of up and down, and then Darius Garland at 23 years old. When you're coming off a season where you were a top 4 seed in your conference, and 2 of your best 3 players are under the age of 24, you are built for the future. I think that's the definition of built for the future. Like I said, Isaac Okoro has kind of been up and down, a little bit more on the downside throughout his career. Hopefully he can, you know, get that 3 ball down so he can get some more minutes, because the defense is there. It's the offense that's really what struggled for him. But Evan Mobley in his second season was a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. He is an incredible defender. Same thing with him. If he gets a little bit more of his offense going, which I'm sure it will because he is a super talented player. And then Darius Garland, one of the best playmakers in the NBA right now, playing alongside Donovan Mitchell in that backcourt. It just opened up plenty for him. He can score, he can play make. He is just an amazing point guard. Having those two locked up for a while here in Cleveland is an amazing thing for them. They are set for the future. The Charlotte Hornets here, they're going up into the Great Foundation category. They also have a bunch of young players on this team, just an all-around super young roster. Of course, they have their young star in LaMelo Ball at just 22 years old, and then they have done a decent job at pairing him with a bunch of other young talent around him. They have Mark Williams on the roster at just 21, Kai Jones at 22, James Bouknight at 23. I can't believe I didn't even mention their second overall pick, Brandon Miller, yet, who's just 20 years old. Their other rookie, Nick Smith Jr., see what maybe he could become. They have a lot of young guys on this roster. I know it's going to be a rough growing year for them, and hopefully that's what we see, a lot of growth. Here for the Nuggets, they were very close to being in the sold their future category, but they're going up into the few good pieces, almost strictly based on Christian Braun. It's not often that you see a rookie getting quality minutes in the NBA Finals, and it is even less often that they give you good, productive quality minutes in the NBA Finals, and that's what Christian Braun did. They also have some other young guys like Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, but like I said, this is almost strictly based on Christian Braun that they're in the few good pieces. I think he's going to be able to break out this next season and become one of the best role players in the whole NBA. Next up, the Houston Rockets. I don't think I really need to explain too much about this. They are built for the future. Pretty much their entire rotation is under the age of 24. Of course, they have Jalen Green. They got Şengün. They got Kevin Porter Jr., who's still somehow under the age of 24. I feel like he's been in the league for years now. Then they also got Jabari Smith Jr., their draft pick last year, who looked incredible in Summer League. Their draft picks this year of Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson. I'm super excited to see those two play. I almost forgot Tari Eason off their bench is still super young as well, only 22 years old. Now that they have a proper head coach in Ime Udoka, and now that they have proper veterans in the locker room like Jeff Green, like Fred VanVleet, like Dylan Brooks, I guess if you want to mention him in that, I think that this team is going to be growing exponentially now. All of their talent, I think, is going to finally have one forward direction that they're going to be looking into, and it's going to be able to propel them all forward into the growth, and I'm really excited for the Houston Rockets. The Clippers, they're going into the sold their future category. They tried a little bit. You could tell they're trying to be a little bit younger with the trading of Bones Highland, or trading for Bones Highland this last trade deadline. And then they also just in this offseason traded for Kenyon Martin Jr. So they're putting an attempt out there to get some young bodies out there. But besides that, they really have no real impactful young players. I know Jason Preston's still on the roster, but he's kind of on the older side of this young core group, and he has yet to really carve himself out. I really do like him as a guy and as a player, so I hope the best for him, but it's really not looking too much. Besides those two guys of Bones and Kenyon Martin Jr., they have no real impact guys under the age of 24. The Lakers, they're also going into this category right here. I guess you can kind of start to see that theme I was talking about earlier with the contenders. They're pretty much in the same boat as the Clippers right there, where they have no real impactful players that are under the age of 24. Jared Vanderbilt is exactly 24 years old, so he barely makes this list, but I also don't see him really growing into too much else besides, you know, the good defender that he is right now. I think he's going to kind of stay in that role for the rest of his career. They also signed Jackson Hayes at 23 and Cam Reddish at 24, but both of these guys have struggled to really stick and get a solid role on either of their teams that they've been on, so I don't expect them to really come to the Lakers and do anything insane. And then their rookie, Jalen Hood-Schifino, I've heard a decent amount of people, you know, hype him up and talk good about him, so maybe he can come in and give an impact. I doubt he's going to really play for them in their rookie season, but he's still a very young body at just 19 years old. They have, I guess, a little bit, but not enough where I'm comfortable putting them into, you know, the higher tier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the Bucks here, they are in contention for maybe the worst young core out of the whole NBA. They only have 4 players 24 years or under, and the only player that I could see really maybe cracking the rotation is MarJon Beauchamp, and yeah, he, like I said, maybe will crack the rotation. I really just think they have pretty much nothing. I know the Giannis quote just came out the other day talking about if everyone's not bought in, maybe I don't want to re-sign. It's looking a little shaky for Bucks fans out there. I hope that Giannis, actually, I was going to say I hope Giannis stays for your sake. I hope Giannis leaves for my sake, and I hope he comes to New York. The Miami Heat, they are the first team putting into the one guy is carrying category, and that one guy is Tyler Hero. I didn't realize how young Tyler Hero still is. They also do have guys like Nikola Jovic and Orlando Robinson, but neither of these guys have really done anything in the NBA yet. And then they have their first round draft pick, Jaime Jaquez, this year, but he is also an older rookie at 22 years old coming into the NBA. If Tyler Hero wasn't on this team, they'd probably drop down to the, honestly, sold their future. That's how much Tyler Hero is carrying right now. The Dallas Mavericks. This might come as a surprise for you guys because on paper, you probably aren't thinking this. They're in the great foundation category. Now, I'm not gonna lie. A huge part of this is Luka Doncic. I had no idea. I thought Luka was at least 25. Luka's still only 24 years old. That literally blows my mind how he's that young doing all of this already. But beyond Luka, they also have Josh Green, who's carved himself out as a very good role player in the NBA. Jaden Hardy still is really young, and he was pretty good for them last season. And then their rookies, Derek Lively, who's only 19 years old, and then their other rookie, Olivier Maxence Prosper. I believe I said that right. Hopefully I did. But yeah, they have a sneaky, decent future going on. Obviously, a lot of that stands on Luka's shoulders on making sure that he stays here and continues to be great as he is. But overall, pretty good. Moving on to the Pelicans, they are pretty much the same as the Dallas Mavericks, as in Zion Williamson is carrying them a decent amount right now. It's crazy to me that a lot of people are already giving up on Zion when he's only 23 years old. Obviously, I know it's very frustrating that he's not staying on the court, that he's dealing with all these injuries and these health things, this, that. That does not take away the fact that when he's on the court, he's arguably a top 10 player at 23 years old. Trey Murphy has also been incredible for them. He's only 23 years old. They also got EJ Liddell, who was injured last year as a rookie, missed out their whole season. He's coming back. Hopefully he can make an impact for them. Dyson Daniels, I expect to kind of have a little bit more of a role coming off their bench this season as well. They have they have a great foundation. You see what I did there? Moving on to my New York Knicks, going up into the solid group category. The thing with the New York Knicks young core is they are all on the older side of the young core. You know, you got Deuce McBride, RJ Barrett, and Quentin Grimes that are all 23 years old, and then Emmanuel Quickley at 24 years old. That doesn't change the fact that these players are still super productive, though. Of course, Emmanuel Quickley was a 6th Man of the Year finalist this last season. RJ Barrett, 20 points per game scorer as a third option on this team. You know, Quentin Grimes, he's carved himself out as a great defender, one of the best in the NBA, if you ask me personally. Also, you know, he's got that three-point shot going for him. I just realized I've been recording for a decent amount of time now, so I'm going to try to pick up the pace for these last few teams now. The OKC Thunder, I'm pretty sure, is what people think about when they think of young teams built for the future. That's probably one of the first teams they go. They have 12 players on their roster, 24 years or younger. I'm obviously not going to list out all of them, but of course, they do have guys like Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, both of them go on that. Chet Holmgren. Lou Dort is still only 24 years old. When I was talking about the Rockets and said that their rotation is pretty much all 24 years or younger, OKC's rotation is all 24 years or younger. That was a little bit of a hyperbole right there, but still, you get what I'm saying. Shea also is in that Trae Young kind of category where I'm pretty sure he's only 25 years old, so he's barely outside of this. They really have one of the best futures in the whole NBA. And we're on a roll right now with the Orlando Magic also being into the Built for the Future category. They have a whole bunch of guys 24 years or younger, headlined by the former Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero, also his running mate, Franz Wagner. Those two right there are an incredible young duo. Then add on the surrounding pieces on this roster. Wendell Carter's only 24 years old, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, their rookie of Anthony Black. They are really, again, built for the future. Super excited for this Orlando Magic team. The Portland Trailblazers, they were very close to being put in the Built for the Future. Depending on what they get from Dame, from trading Dame, they might be in the Built for the Future. But for right now, they're just in the great foundation. Their young core is headlined by 3rd overall pick Scoot Henderson, who looked incredible in his one half of Summer League play. And then you also get to pair him with Shaedon Sharpe, who was a rookie last season, still super young. I believe he's only 20 years old. Then Anthony Simons is 24, so he's included in that young category as well. Those three right there, incredible start. Like I said, depending on what they get from Dame too, they might be moving up a tier. Right now, still got a great foundation though. The Indiana Pacers, of course, they're going up into the Built for Future. I wonder why they're the only team that has an outline like that white outline. Regardless of that though, obviously they're headlined by their main young star of Tyrese Halliburton, who's killing it right now for Team USA. Shout out to Reese. But they also drafted super well last season. That set them up to have this. They got Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard, two super high impactful rookies last season that can come into this season and grow even more. And then they continued that good drafting into this year with Jarris Walker, who's going to help them boost up their defense. This team is one of the teams, again, that I'm super excited to watch. Detroit Pistons here, they're also up into the Built for the Future category. I don't know if I really have to explain them either. They are just a super young team. They are headlined by their great backcourt of Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, but then they also have plenty of young depth everywhere else with Jalen Duren, James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley doing their front court. I forgot to mention Isaiah Stewart is also super young in that front court as well. Killian Hayes super young in that backcourt. And then their rookie Asar Thompson. Yeah, they got young pieces everywhere. Sacramento Kings here, they get to be put into the few good pieces category almost solely based on Keegan Murray. They really don't have too many young, impactful players besides Keegan, but he was just incredible for them last season. A huge part of them, being one of the biggest surprises of the NBA. Like I mentioned before with Christian Brown right here with the Nuggets, it's really hard to be a rookie and give good minutes on, a contending team, and that's what Keegan Murray did at a starter at that. He started for them and gave them incredible minutes. Phoenix Suns, when I was saying the Bucks had contention for the worst young core, I forgot the Phoenix Suns existed. They have a whopping total of 2 players under the age of 24 on their roster, both being 23 years old. One of them being a rookie, I don't know if I'm saying this right, forgive me if I'm not, but Tatsumi Kamara. And then the other one being 23-year-old Bol Bol. I know a lot of people have been hyping up Bol Bol, but there's a reason he didn't stick with the Nuggets. There's a reason he didn't stick with the Magic. Can he maybe carve himself out something with Phoenix? Yeah, maybe. Will he? I don't know. The San Antonio Spurs, they are definitely going up into the Built for the Future. Pretty much all of their best players are under the age of 24. Of course, Victor Wembanyama, the #1 overall pick. Then Jeremy Sohan is also under that age. Devin Vassell is, I think, only 23 years old. Keldon Johnson is still 24. Trey Jones is also still young, although I think he's 23. You see where I'm going, though. Pretty much all the guys that they really care about are under the age of 24. They just got to fill in the rest of the pieces around them and then just wait for the growth. The 76ers, they're joining the Heat over here in the one guy carrying, and that one guy is Tyrese Maxey. Obviously, he's incredible. He's a top 10 shooting guard in my list. If you missed those lists, check out the channel. As I always got to do the plugs. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey, an incredible scorer. He plays great for them, and he's only 22 years old, which is really, it blows my mind. I thought he was way older than that. I'm not going to hold you. And I do want to give a quick shout out to B-Ball Paul Reed, who's on this roster. He's 24 years old. decent backup center for them. The Toronto Raptors, they are up in this great foundation category. Of course, they got rookie Grady Dick coming in, who's only 19 years old, but then they also have former Rookie of the Year Scotty Barnes on their roster. And then a sneaky one here, I didn't realize, I thought he was at least like 26, 27. Gary Trent Jr. is 24 years old. That really blew my mind when I was looking up video. Coming down to the home stretch now, the Utah Jazz, they are going into the solid group. This is another one of those things where, because I don't watch college basketball, it could be skewing my thoughts a little bit, but I heard a lot of people hyping up Taylor Hendricks and Keontae George, both rookies for the Utah Jazz. But then on top of that, they also have guys like Walker Kessler, who was a Rookie of the Year finalist last season. Taylor Horton-Tucker has kind of rejuvenated his career a little bit over there in Utah. Ocha Agbaji was great for them last season. Colin Sexton's still under the age of 24. They have a solid group. The Warriors here go into the sold their future category. Obviously, they had James Wiseman. That didn't pan out. Moses Moody, he's struggled to really find himself a consistent role. Same thing with Jonathan Kuminga. They really just don't have too much going. They're buying all the way into this current core that they got right now of Steph, Clay, and Dre. Obviously, you saw that with the Jordan Poole trade. Will it work? Who knows? But they still sold their future. The Wizards up into this great foundation category because of that Jordan Poole trade. You know, Jordan Poole only being 24 years old. I expect him to take a little bit of a jump this season. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star or anything like that, but he's got full reins here to do whatever he wants in Washington, and I'm sure he's going to take advantage. But then beyond that, they also have guys around him like Corey Kispert, who's only 24 years old. Danny Avdia's 22. Johnny Davis, I know he had a very rough rookie season, to say the least. He's still only 21 years old, though. And if I don't watch college basketball, you know damn well I don't watch French basketball. So their draft pick of Bilal Coulibaly, I really don't know anything about him, but he's 19 years old. They finally hit the full reset button, and it worked out pretty well for them. The Grizzlies, this was a very shocking one when I was doing research for this. They're going into Built for the Future. I didn't realize that both Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant are only 24 years old. But they also have their young rotational pieces of Xavier Tillman. I thought he was at least 28 years old, I'm gonna be honest. He's 24. They also got Santi Aldama at 22, David Roddy at 22. Zaire Williams hasn't really shown anything in his NBA career, but he's still super young. They just traded for Josh Christopher too, super young on that wing position. They are set. Finally, we are on the last team right here, the Minnesota Timberwolves, going into the great foundation category. Obviously, Anthony Edwards leading the way on that at only 22 years old. Insane to me how he's still super, super young. Jaden McDaniels is only 23 years old. Naz Reid also is only 24 years old. It's really those three players pretty much exclusively that make them this high. But when you're a player like Anthony Edwards, when you're a player like Jaden McDaniels, you know, you can boost up an entire team's rating just based off how good you are. And this is the final rankings. Let me know what you guys think about it. What this is showing me, though, is that a lot of teams have a pretty good future. You know, these guys right here are set up very, very well. And then beyond this, like, obviously you don't want to be in these down two categories, but still, a lot of teams have at least a few good young players. This video took way longer to record than I expected, so if you still are watching at this point, shout out to you. I appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Also, a final reminder that starting this Saturday, we're doing the deep dives on those teams, so make sure that you do not miss out on those videos. They're going to be very, very good. In the description is links to all my social media, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch ya.